We live in strange times. We have more comfort, freedom, and entertainment at our fingertips than any generation before us. Yet somehow, more of us feel empty, disconnected, and directionless than ever. Nihilism, the sense that nothing truly matters, has seeped into our culture, memes, and minds. But what if this emptiness isn't a flaw in you? What if it's a symptom of a much deeper crisis? A warning sign that the very foundation of our society is collapsing beneath us. If you've ever felt like you're drifting, unmoored, and lost in life, you're not alone. In fact, you're living the defining emotional crisis of our generation. Social media is filled with jokes about existential dread and ironic detachment, but behind every meme is a genuine cry for help. Surveys show anxiety, depression, and loneliness skyrocketing among young people. Millions report feeling like life itself is meaningless, that nothing they do truly matters. And it's not just mental health. Look at your job. How many people do you know who are quietly quitting, doing the bare minimum because they simply don't care anymore? Or your friends, how often do you see them glued to their phones, endlessly scrolling, caught in a loop of distraction and dissatisfaction? It's tempting to think this emptiness is your fault, that you just need a better morning routine or more motivation or a different career. But what if the truth is bigger than that? What if your emptiness is actually a sign that something fundamental has broken in our society? To find the answer, we need to take a step back and consider the insights of Carl Jung, one of history's most profound thinkers. Jung believed the emptiness you're experiencing isn't random or accidental. Instead, it's a direct result of a civilization losing touch with its guiding myths and stories, forgetting the things that give us purpose and meaning. Carl Jung dedicated his life to understanding the deepest layers of the human psyche. But he didn't stop there. He also studied how entire civilizations rise, flourish, and eventually fall. And one of Jung's greatest warnings was about what happens when a society loses its guiding myth, the shared stories, beliefs, and purposes that hold people together and give life meaning. Jung observed that humans don't just need food, shelter, and safety to survive. We need meaning. Without a sense of purpose, we start drifting. Life becomes hollow, routine feels pointless, and everything slowly begins to lose significance. He called this the loss of myth, and he viewed it as one of the greatest psychological dangers facing modern civilization. He warned that when the old myths die, societies don't just move on unaffected. They fall into confusion and chaos. Without common values or a clear purpose, people become fragmented, isolated, and easily manipulated. They chase distractions, crave instant gratification, and spiral into anxiety and despair. And Jung didn't just theorize about this, he witnessed it firsthand in the early 20th century. He saw a world devastated by war, collapsing traditions, and rapidly shifting cultural norms. He recognized then what we are experiencing now, that emptiness and nihilism aren't just personal feelings, they're signs that something crucial, something foundational has been lost. But how exactly did we lose it? How did our civilization find itself trapped in an epidemic of meaninglessness? To understand this, we have to look at the symptoms more closely, to see how this loss of myth is playing out right now in the everyday lives of millions of people. Look around and you'll see Jung's warnings everywhere. We live in a culture saturated with distraction, cynicism, and detachment, clear symptoms of a civilization struggling to find meaning. Take the endless scrolling on social media, for example. People spend hours each day flipping mindlessly through content, not because they love what they see, but because it numbs the existential ache that creeps in when silence or boredom sets in. The same goes for binge-watching Netflix or chasing the latest trends and fads. These are not signs of satisfaction. They're temporary escapes from a life that feels directionless. Then there's the pervasive sense of irony and detachment in meme culture. Nothing is sacred, everything is mocked, and sincerity is almost embarrassing. It's become cooler to joke about your emptiness than to actually confront it. Young people openly say life is meaningless, but behind every joke is genuine despair. Even our workplaces reflect this emptiness. Millions are quietly quitting, silently rebelling against jobs that feel purposeless and shallow. They fulfill their obligations, clock their hours, but their hearts aren't in it, because there's nothing deeper driving them. And perhaps most telling of all, consider the political and cultural polarization we see today. Without a common myth or shared values, society splits into opposing factions, each desperately trying to impose their meaning on the other. We no longer agree on what's meaningful, valuable, or even true. So we fight endlessly, trapped in a destructive loop. These aren't separate issues. They're symptoms of one underlying problem. Our civilization has lost its myth. And until we acknowledge that, we'll remain stuck in cycles of distraction, emptiness, and conflict. But there's something even more urgent we need to recognize. It's no accident that young people are feeling this emptiness first and deepest. Jung understood exactly why, and if we're ever going to solve this crisis, we need to see it through his eyes. It's no coincidence that young people are at the forefront of this crisis. Jung believed that myths and rituals served an essential psychological purpose, guiding us from youth to adulthood, from uncertainty to purpose. Without these guiding stories, young people lose their compass exactly when they need it the most. In traditional societies, myths offered clear pathways into adulthood. Coming-of-age rituals marked clear transitions, giving young people a sense of identity, belonging, and purpose. These rituals provided answers to fundamental questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What does it mean to live a good life? But today we've largely lost these cultural markers. Young people enter adulthood with almost no clear initiation or shared sense of purpose. Instead, they're handed a vague and often contradictory set of expectations. Achieve success, make money, find your passion. But how, why, and toward what goal? These questions go unanswered. With no clear story to guide them, young people turn elsewhere to fill the void. They seek validation through social media, chase quick hits of dopamine through endless scrolling, or dive into escapism through gaming and entertainment. They grasp at politics, fandoms, or influencer culture not because these offer true meaning, but because they temporarily mask the emptiness beneath. This emptiness is why anxiety, depression, and nihilism surge among younger generations. Without a shared myth, purpose becomes unclear. Life feels directionless, and the world starts to look meaningless. The very generations tasked with carrying society forward feel paralyzed and disconnected. But Jung's insights go beyond diagnosing the problem. He saw clearly that the loss of meaning isn't just a personal issue, it's a warning sign of deeper civilizational decline. And history shows us exactly what happens when societies ignore these warnings and fail to rediscover a meaningful narrative. Carl Jung wasn't alone in recognizing that civilizations rise and fall along psychological and spiritual fault lines. Philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche, historians like Oswald Spengler, and psychologists like Viktor Frankl all warned that the loss of shared purpose and meaning is often the first stage of civilizational decline. History reveals a clear pattern. Societies don't collapse overnight. They crumble slowly, from within. It starts when the common stories, myths, and values begin to fade. Shared purpose is replaced by individual cynicism. Faith in institutions and traditions erode, and people lose trust in their leaders, their neighbors, and then ultimately themselves. In Rome, decadence and apathy set in long before external invaders arrived. In the late Qing dynasty, internal corruption and emptiness paved the way for collapse. In every case, civilization weakened internally first, because people no longer believed their society stood for anything meaningful or worth preserving. Today, we see similar signs everywhere: declining trust, rising polarization, and a pervasive sense of emptiness. But there's something even more troubling. Modern technology amplifies this crisis. Social media spreads nihilism rapidly, memes mock sincerity relentlessly, and digital distractions numb us endlessly. Instead of addressing the void, we're perfecting the art of escaping it. Yet history shows us something hopeful. Societies that recognize their crisis early enough have a chance to rebuild. Civilizations that reforge their myths, rediscover their purpose, and rekindle meaning from within often find renewed strength. Jung understood this deeply, and he believed the answer to collective emptiness lies not in nostalgia for old myths, but in the courage to create new ones. But how do you create meaning when everything feels meaningless? How do you restore purpose in a society that has forgotten how to dream? According to Jung, the path forward lies not outward, but inward. Carl Jung believed that while societies need myths, the modern world presents us with a unique challenge and a unique opportunity. We can no longer rely solely on ancient traditions or external sources to provide meaning. Instead, we have to create our own. He called this process individuation, discovering who you genuinely are beneath society's expectations and consciously crafting your own story and purpose. Individuation isn't simply about feeling good or chasing personal happiness. It's about finding a deep, meaningful reason for your existence. A story compelling enough to guide you through life's darkest moments. According to Jung, this begins by confronting your own psyche. It means facing your shadow, the repressed parts of yourself, the fears, insecurities, and painful truths you'd rather avoid. Because hidden within your shadow is the raw material you need to build a meaningful life. By embracing all that you are, including the parts that you don't like, you create a foundation for real authenticity. But individuation goes deeper. Jung argued that each of us contains archetypes, ancient symbolic figures like the hero, the sage, and the explorer. By tapping into these archetypes within yourself, you can begin shaping your life into a meaningful journey. You become the author of your own myth, your own guiding narrative. This might sound abstract, but it's incredibly practical. It means actively choosing goals aligned with your deepest values, not just society's expectations. It means asking yourself difficult questions, like, what would make your life truly worthwhile? What principles do you want to live by? And what legacy do you want to leave behind? By creating your own myth, you reclaim meaning from the emptiness. Instead of drifting aimlessly, you begin living intentionally. And when enough individuals find meaning again, society itself can heal and renew. But the choice to create your own myth is entirely yours, because if you don't consciously choose your story, something else, advertising, ideology, distraction, will choose it for you. Right now, our civilization is standing at a crossroads. Nihilism, distraction, and emptiness aren't just isolated feelings. They're symptoms of a much larger crisis. Carl Jung saw clearly that when societies lose their shared myths, they risk losing themselves entirely. But here's the secret Jung also knew. A civilization is not some abstract entity separate from us. It's you, me, and every individual. Its fate is intertwined with the meaning we choose to give our lives. So ask yourself, what kind of story are you living right now? Are you drifting through life, letting distractions fill your days? Or are you consciously choosing the myth you want to embody? Because if Jung was right, and history strongly suggests he was, then our future depends on this very decision. We each have the power to reclaim meaning from emptiness, to find purpose in the chaos. The answer won't come from outside. It must be forged from within. Yes, society may have lost its guiding story, but you haven't lost your ability to write your own. And remember, if you don't create your own meaning, someone else will sell you theirs. Thanks for watching, and best of luck on your path to integration.